Hello everyone, and welcome to my Bold and Beautiful Today channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Electra is trapped in Remy's apartment while Katie shows Will the deepfake pictures. Friday, December 27, 2024, Will corrects the record, Remy confesses, and a black and blue Luna plays with Bill's sympathies in today's episode of The Bold and the Beautiful. As Electra looks at the collage of herself on the wall in Remy's bathroom, she hyperventilates in fear. Will and Ivy talk about how confusing Electra's termination is in Forrester's design office, and Will says they need to know the truth. Electra didn't deserve this, he is certain. Ivy concurs. They are amazed because she excelled at her work and that there was no reason why she should lose the position that meant so much to her. Ivy suggests that it was more important than anyone had thought. Will inquires as to whether he should be aware of anything. He promises that until he learns why Electra experienced this or who is responsible, he will not give up. Katie updates Carter and Hope on Electra's pictures in the main office. Carter appreciates her tactful handling of it. Will obviously doesn't know her any better than the others, but Katie complains that he knows he's not getting the whole picture and is unhappy about it. Fanny will arrive any moment, Carter warns them. Katie reflects on the singer's Parisian residence. Carter claims that he is traveling there today in order to discuss a possible partnership with the business. It's a component of his strategy to advance it. There is a scent to Fanny. Katie is thrilled. Fanny enters at that moment, kisses everyone, and then says she's worried about all the changes. She desires to speak with Brooke. Bill flashbacks to Luna at the jail, pleading for him to stay with her. She appears battered and injured when the door buzzes and she is dragged inside. Bill scowls. Luna finds it hard to believe he's there. I was giving up hope, she sobs. What the hell happened to her, wonders Bill. Who hurt you like this? Luna claims that the guards don't give a damn about the constant bullying she receives from the other ladies. She doesn't belong there, even though she committed horrible atrocities. I'm not sure how long I can hold on. Electra hears Remy approaching in his restroom, whining loudly about having to clean the grill. As he storms into the apartment and stands there in a rage, she ducks behind the couch. Brave Remy Electra. Hope informs Fanny in the main office that Brooke is unable to join them since she is taking care of some personal business. Carter talks passionately about her singing profession and fragrances. Fanny explains that her team is talented. She asks them to sample her scent in the hopes that it will perfectly convey the elegance and beauty of Forrester. Nice, thinks Katie. Very nice. Carter laughs as Fanny describes the various fragrances. I like all three. Katie agrees. Fanny receives a message abruptly stating that she must attend another meeting. They all express their gratitude to her, and Fanny promises to always wish Forrester Creations the best. Will concerns in the design office that if Electra is unable to work at Forrester, she will go home. Even though she done nothing wrong, Ivy fears she is punishing herself. Will is aware that she did nothing improper. Something else is involved. I'm not going to drop this. After removing his clothes, Remy enters his room's bathroom to wash his face. While he is putting on a fresh t-shirt, he notices that Electra has moved to the opposite side of the sofa in the adjacent room. Luna sobs to Bill that she doesn't belong in the jail. It was momentary lunacy when she snapped. He is the only one who even makes an effort to comprehend her. She mentions how their origins are similar and claims to know he can identify with her. You're the only one who can. She maintains that if it weren't for her mother's treatment of her, she wouldn't be there. In here, they'll kill me. Please, 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 Bill, help me. Luna begs him to let her leave. Bill Luna B&B. Joining Katie, Hope, and Carter in the main office at Forrester, Ivy and will insist for answers regarding Electra's termination. They should be given an explanation, Ivy says. What did she do that was so bad that they had to let her go? Will asks. Ivy continues, the real reason. Carter responds, show them, Katie. Katie apologizes to Will and shows him the picture of Electra on her phone, but he can tell that she isn't the kind, naive girl they believed her to be. "Are you serious?" Will asks. "That's not Electra," he says, explaining that the image is a deepfake created by artificial intelligence. Remy stops Electra from leaving his flat after spotting her running for the door. She yells, "You did it!" He implores her to give him a moment's attention. He informs her that the people at Forrester are not her friends, rather, they are much like her family and abandoned her. Electra noticed the photos and realized that he was the one who created the deepfakes. "They can't live with you, but I can't live without you, Electra." Remy promises to look after her when they move to New York. According to Electra, he is not her friend. It was Remy's responsibility. He was unable to allow her to be with Will or anybody else. Electra understands that this is the reason she was fired. "You did it once more, did you not?" Remy couldn't let Will stand in their way. He forwarded the pictures to Will's mother. He confesses his love and pleads with her to leave with him, promising never to do it again. "I had no choice." Electra is furious that he sent Will's mother those pictures knowing that she would be fired and humiliated, and he asks her to accompany him. She promises that he will be imprisoned for this. Only because he loves her so deeply does Remy realize that he went a bit too far. When Electra tries to flee, he yells, "Stop," and refuses to let her leave. With a rhythm that revealed her rage, Electra strode into the dark office, her heels clicking on the shiny floor. She was holding her phone tightly, the screen still showing the pictures that had completely upended her world. The atmosphere within seemed suffocating, as though the walls were working together to enclose her. She had confided in Remy, trusted him, and even encouraged him to advance in their company. But now that his deceit, deepfakes, created to ruin reputations and influence results, was exposed, everything was soiled. She was shocked at how low he had fallen. A cunning smirk played on Remy's lips as he sat at his desk, seemingly anticipating her arrival. His cool-headedness simply made Electra more irate. She threw her phone onto the desk in front of him and screamed, "Remy! Explain this! Right now!" Leaning forward, he picked up the gadget and cast a fake indifference glance at the screen. The photos and films, which were doctored to incriminate important people in scandals they had nothing to do with, were unsettlingly accurate. His eyes were calculating and cold as he put down the phone and looked directly into her eyes. "Electra, what do you want me to say?" he inquired in a mockingly innocent tone. "I've been resourceful, right? That I've taken the required action?" Electra balled her hands into fists. "Required?" she said it again, raising her voice. "You say this is essential? These are poison, not simply lies. You've gone too far, Remy. Are you even aware of the harm you have caused?" Remy's grin dimmed and gave way to a more sinister look. He immediately loomed over her, his presence menacing. His voice was low and threatening as he replied, "You'll thank me later, but you're upset now. Electra, this is about more than just us. Control is at issue here. Strength. And perhaps you don't belong here if you're not prepared to put in the necessary effort." With her instincts telling her that she was in danger, Electra stepped back. She had previously witnessed this aspect of Remy, the relentless, merciless side that would do whatever it took to accomplish his objectives. However, she hadn't anticipated his betrayal. Even though she was terrified, she spoke steadily, "I'm not going to let you get away with this. I'm bringing this up with the board. To the police, if necessary." Remy's gaze grew strained. He quickly circled the desk and pinned her against the wall. He quickly reached out and took a firm hold of her wrist. "You're not leaving," he growled. Panic building in her chest, Electra fought against his grip. She shook her voice and commanded, "Remy, let me go. This is only getting worse for you." The sound of the office door exploding opened the tension. Will barged in, his rage flaming in his eyes. Without hesitation, he took in the sight of Electra pressed against the wall, her face etched with panic. With deadly composure, Will snarled, "Get your hands off her." Remy turned to Will and sneered as he let go of Electra. "You're not worried about this, Will," he said. "Avoid getting involved." Ignoring him, Will moved in between Electra and Remy. He put a shielding arm over her and led her to the door. "Are you all right?" he inquired quietly. Even though her hands were still shaking, Electra nodded. Despite the excitement still pumping through her, she stated firmly, "We need to expose him." "Tell me," Remy laughed, but it was a chilly, unhumorous sound. "Do you really think that anyone will believe you instead of me? I've hid my identity. Those images are as authentic as anything else available." Will's eyes narrowed as he turned to confront him. He remarked, "You're wrong about that." He displayed a file he had been carrying, which contained analysis and information demonstrating the photo's falsity. Some people may be duped by these deepfakes, but not everyone. And definitely not me. For the first time, Remy's self-assurance wavered, a glimmer of uncertainty appearing on his features. The consequences of what had just transpired weighed heavily on Will and Electra as they left the office. However, their ordeal did not end there. They were heading to the main floor when they heard a disturbance. One of Electra's best friends, Luna, was hunched over the wall, breathing heavily and with bruises on her face. Heartbroken by the sight, Electra hurried to her side. "What happened, Luna?" With a quivering voice, she inquired. Luna's words was hardly audible above a whisper as her eyes opened. She said, "It was him. Remy. He wished to convey a message." Electra's determination solidified as her rage flared again. Her voice was forceful as she stated, "We're not letting him get away with this." Will touched her shoulder reassuringly. He pledged, "We'll make sure he pays for everything he's done." Together, they assisted Luna in standing up and headed for safety. One thing was evident as they readied themselves for the fight ahead: Remy's reign of terror was coming to an end. And Electra would do whatever it took to see justice done, especially with Will and Luna at her side. Electra sat in stunned silence, gripping the folder Will had given her with shaking hands. Each piece of evidence was more devastating than the last, and the weight of it all crushed her chest like a boulder. The late-night meetings, the hushed chats, the tension that appeared to buzz around Will and Katie like a live wire, all of this had given her reason to assume something was amiss. However, she wasn't ready for this. The photos, emails, and video footage were all indisputable evidence of a betrayal so profound that it made her stomach turn. Tears of wrath and disbelief filled her eyes as she stared up at Will. "How were you able to?" Her voice broke as she whispered. "How could you have allowed this to occur?" Will's expression was one of remorse and annoyance. He made an attempt to console her, but she flinched away, losing faith in him. With a guilty tone, he said, "Electra, I didn't know. I was unaware of what was going on until it was too late." "You were unaware?" Electra repeated, raising her voice. "You think I'll believe that? Will, you should be the only person I can rely on. And this now?" Katie stood with her arms folded tightly across her chest, off to the side. She had a pale face with a defiant and guilty attitude. She interrupted, "Electra, this isn't Will's fault. If anything, I..." "Don't," Electra interrupted, her tone cold. "You dare not attempt to defend him. Or oneself. Both of you were aware of what this would do to me. To everyone." There was a noticeable distance between Will and Katie that appeared to get wider by the second. Will's devotion was divided between his love for Electra and the issues that had developed as a result of his involvement with Katie. Furthermore, it was more difficult to discern Katie's intentions, which were a hazy mix of fear, ambition, and a darker element that Electra was unable to fully identify. Electra's dread increased as the confrontation progressed. The ramifications of her findings extended much beyond individual treachery. A network of deceit and dishonesty that reached the highest echelons of their organization was exposed by the documents. Her name and reputation were being dragged through the mud in ways she was unaware of, and projects she had worked on non-stop had been ruined from within. And Remy, the mastermind driving the mayhem, was at the center of it all. Every discovery was a dagger to Electra's heart, and her hands trembled as she turned the pages. She glanced back at Will, her voice trembling with anger. She accused you of knowing about Remy. You allowed him to approach me this closely even though you knew what he was capable of. To us. The weight of what she said caused Will's shoulders to sag. I was unaware of its magnitude, he acknowledged. He had already. He said, his voice trailing off, the incomplete statement lingering in the air like a storm cloud. With a strong voice, Katie took a step forward. Electra, stop your guilt trip. Here, we are all victims. Do you believe that I haven't been impacted by this as well? Remy has deceived us all. With her eyes flaming, Electra's attention suddenly shifted to Katie. She spat, don't you dare try to make this about you. You had an option. This could have been avoided. Rather, she shook her head, unable to complete the action. The weight of their collective resentment and remorse caused the room to go silent. With her thoughts racing, Electra looked away. She had no time to think about the betrayal. The stakes were too high. Remy's activities had endangered many lives, and the consequences would be disastrous if they didn't take immediate action. She inhaled deeply and regained her composure. Her voice pierced the tension as she forcefully stated, we need to stop him. Whatever it takes. Will grimaced as he nodded. He pledged to help in any way he could. With her own guilt weighing heavy, Katie hesitated. Reluctantly, she answered, I'm in, too. Electra didn't answer because she was already concentrating on the current work. She no longer had faith in them. But she needed their assistance now. Time was running out, and they were the only ones who knew the entire scope of Remy's ambitions. The rifts in their relationships were still painfully visible when the three of them started to plot. The tension between Will and Katie threatened to undermine their efforts at every turn, and Electra couldn't get rid of the feeling that she had been betrayed. However, they were at a loss. Failure was not an option, and the stakes were too high. Hours later, Electra gave herself permission to mourn while sitting by herself in the darkened war room. The worst kind of betrayal had come from the person she had trusted the most, and the hurt was more profound than she had anticipated. She made the decision to be strong despite the tears that were streaming down her face. She had been underestimated by Remy. He had believed he could shatter her spirit, ruin her, and render her helpless. However, he was mistaken. Being a survivor, Electra would hold him accountable for all of his actions. She would rebuild after it was over, stronger, smarter, and more determined than before. There was an obvious tension in the room, a storm building beneath the surface. With his face a mask of rage and his fists clenched, Will paced back and forth. Katie stood with her arms folded across the room, a look of remorse mixed with anger on her face. Weeks had passed since the confrontation began, and their relationship was becoming more strained by the day. But it all came to a head tonight. Kate, how could you? Will's voice echoed off the walls as he yelled. How could you have avoided telling me about this? Are you aware of what's involved? Katie winced but refused to back down. She retorted, don't you dare blame me for this. Will, I made a mistake. However, don't pretend that you're innocent of any of this. You were so preoccupied with Electra that you failed to see what was going on right in front of you. Will's ire only appeared to grow when Electra was brought up. Electra is not the subject of this, he yelled. Trust is key here. About you deceiving me and endangering everyone we love. Are you even aware of your actions? Katie's eyes flickered uncertainly as her determination wavered. Even though she was aware of her error, the burden of Will's charges was too much to bear. I was attempting to keep us safe, she muttered. To keep you safe. Keep me safe, Will reiterated, his tone brimming with incredulity. Are you able to hear yourself? The exact opposite is what you have done. You were unable to be honest with me, which is why we are all in danger now. Electra was miles away, engrossed in her own perilous discovery, as their dispute continued. Determined to fill in the gaps, she had started going through the information Will had discovered regarding Remy's activities. Instead, she was shocked by what she discovered. Evidence of something far more terrible than she had anticipated was concealed amid the encrypted files. Remy's schemes threatened to topple entire systems and involved influential people in addition to their organization. As Electra put the pieces together, her heart raced. The threat was urgent, and the ramifications were profound. The enormity of what she was discovering astounded her, and she felt shivers down her spine as she realized she was suddenly a target herself. The knowledge threatened to paralyze her, but she knew she had to move fast. Will was back in the heated conversation, and his rage was not letting up. "You believe I'm being harsh with you?" With a broken voice, he said. "You don't understand what it's like to bear this burden, to have to make decisions that could affect the lives of those we love. And you simply threw everything away." Tears filled Katie's eyes, but she was not going to give up. "Will, I'm not the enemy here," she declared. "You and I have both committed mistakes. Perhaps we wouldn't be in this situation if you had been truthful with me from the beginning." Their remarks pierced deeper as their voices became louder. Beneath layers of bitterness and betrayal, the love that had once united them now seemed like a faraway memory. They were both unaware that Electra's name was flashing on the screen of the ringing phone on the table. As her sense of urgency grew, Electra's call went unanswered. She was aware that she couldn't wait for help. She inhaled deeply, collected the files, and got ready to face Remy directly. Although it was a hasty choice, she couldn't afford to wait because time was running out. Electra experienced an adrenaline rush as she arrived at the scene tethered to the most incriminating evidence. The structure was gloomy and ominous, with broken windows and graffiti all over the walls. Electra knew she was entering a trap since it was the type of place where secrets festered. But now she was unable to go back. Tension was thick in the air inside. With her senses sharpened, Electra proceeded with caution. Her heart thumping in her chest, she arrived at the room where the paperwork showed Remy had been operating. There, she discovered something worse than she had anticipated. Remy had a menacing grin on his lips as he waited for her. His power and reach were demonstrated by the numerous monitors in the room that showed live feeds from different areas. "Ah, Electra," he remarked, his tone full of derision. "I wanted to know when you would arrive." Electra narrowed her eyes and refused to back down. "Remy, it's over," she stated firmly. "I have all I need to reveal you." Remy grinned broadly, his self-assurance unflinching. "Do you?" he inquired. "Or have you simply entered a game that you don't comprehend?" The displays flickered, showing pictures that chilled Electra's blood before she could react. Her friends and associates, who were completely unaware that they were being monitored, were captured on camera. "You see," Remy went on, "I've always been ahead of the game. And you're right where I want you now." At the same time, Will and Katie's disagreement had finally gotten out of hand. Will's face was a mix of desperation and rage as he grabbed his coat. He remarked, "I can't do this right now," and started to leave. Katie's voice cracked as she called after him. "Will, please. Don't leave this alone. From our end." Will paused, his hand resting on the handle. But they couldn't handle the weight of their disagreement and the knowledge of what was coming. He left without saying anything more, leaving Katie to face her regrets by herself. As Will went out into the chilly night air, his phone buzzed once again. When he saw Electra's name this time, he responded. On the other end, her comments came out quickly and urgently. "It's Remy, Will. Everything is known to him. Additionally, he is observing us." It was a gut punch of a discovery for Will. He hadn't seen the wider picture since he had been so preoccupied with his own personal drama. "Where are you?" With a voice full of panic, he demanded. Electra's voice was shaking as she gave him the address. "Will, hurry up. I have no idea how much time I have left." Will made no hesitation. His thoughts were racing as he hopped into his automobile. Right now, he couldn't let Electra go. The night's events replayed in his head as he raced through the metropolis. Electra was now suffering because he had allowed his feelings to impair his judgment. Electra was cornered when he got to the building, her stubbornness unwavering in spite of the peril she was in. Remy was startled by Will's sudden appearance in the room. There was no place for compromise in the ensuing dramatic conflict between opposing wills. Ultimately, Will's resolve and Electra's bravery were what made the difference. Together, they were able to capture Remy and obtain the proof they required to reveal his scheme. However, the knight's wounds would remain, serving as a constant reminder of the cost of their errors. Will and Electra stood together as the sun rose, illuminating the consequences of their ordeal and fortifying their bond through their shared experiences. As she watched from a distance, Katie's heart ached from knowing that she had contributed to their pain. However, for the time being, the emphasis was on their triumph and the hope that they would start to recover.